digital age. Now, this is another project he's working on called Dojo, supercomputer. And I think this plays into the concept of Skynet. And then we think of his Starlink, think of Neuralink, Neuralace, and all these other projects. Once these things are developed, minds can be connected to the internet. And this is one of his goals. Now, some will say, oh, imagine if we're all connected to the internet through our minds, and we could talk on Twitter now just through our thoughts. How cool would that be? How cool would that be? Have you guys read the book Feed? Watch the show. There's a show on it. The level of consequences are staggering. Imagine someone has access to your thoughts. I mean, it's a bit extreme to think about. It's science fiction, but it's not that far. We're not that far away, man. Kind of not that far away at all.
Imagine a computer so powerful that it can perform 1 quintillion calculations per second. In case you're wondering, that's 1 with 18 zeros after it. A computer that can process more data than the entire human population combined. That's about 8 billion people. A computer that can create a digital duplicate of the human visual cortex and brain function and use it to drive a car autonomously. This is not science fiction. This is Dojo, Tesla's new supercomputer. Imagine a computer so powerful that it can perform 1 quintillion calculations.
Can you imagine? Elon can. And all of this is happening like that. Couple years, man, all of this stuff is in development. And the goal is to have it at least up and running in 2030. Everything leads to 2030, man. The next 5 years next 6 years, so important for all of this. Now, listen to this, to speak more to this convergence of all of these technologies, but also of people, of minds. Listen to what he says here regarding his new platform, X. Check this out, man.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to get like 80% of, let's say, North America and perhaps, I don't know, half the world or something, ultimately on Twitter in one form or another.
Can you believe that? 80% of the U.S. he wants on Twitter. I wonder why. Imagine what he could do with that type of data. Imagine what type of AI, possibly Grok, or maybe his Truth AI, XAI. Imagine what type of training he would be able to do with half the earth on Twitter. Is it possible? Probably not, given that he's now being painted as this conservative rightist and the left thinks he's like a Nazi. So there's always going to be that divide. But guess what? Recently, the former owner of Twitter opened up his own version of X. I think it's called Blue Sky. So yes, now we have another dialectic. Now we have the progressive X. I believe it's called Blue Sky. I believe it just went live the other day. So here we are. AI battles, social media battles, hive minds and digital silos. Oh, man. Wild. Absolutely wild.
And that means it must be something that is appealing to people. It obviously cannot be a place where they feel uncomfortable or harassed, or they'll simply not use it. So, and I think there's this big difference between freedom of speech and freedom of reach.
There we go. You can say whatever you want, but that don't mean you're going to be able to reach people. We're already seeing this happen across all platforms, even YouTube. Shadow banning is the old way of describing it. But now it's a type of algorithmic suppression where you're just less visible, right? I've gotten hundreds of complaints from you guys talking about you've been unsubscribed, you never know when I'm live, you never get the recommendations or notifications. This is all a part of that. This is a massive information war, and real truth, actual thinking people aren't to be discovered, at least not to a certain point. We're allowed to operate and we're allowed to reach to a point, right, to a fault until it's too far. And then everything just blows down.
In that one can obviously, let's say in the United States, go in the middle of Times Square and pretty much yell anything you want, and you'll annoy the people around you, but you're kind of allowed to just sort of yell whatever you want in a crowded public place, more or less. Apart from this is a robbery, probably that would get you in trouble. So, but then that whatever you say, however controversial, does not need to then be broadcast to the whole country. So I think generally the approach of Twitter should be to let people say what they want to do within the bounds of the law, but then limit who sees that based on any given Twitter user's preferences.
Wow. You see what's happening? This is purely reified digital silos by way of algorithm. What he's saying is we are going to, through personalized algorithms, curate information and messages to the preferences of the individual. Do you know how this is going to destroy all content creators that aren't, say, legacy, or that aren't, say, promoted by the overall bigger mainstream system? Because it just splinters all data, all content into these structured, curated algorithms that target individuals instead of, say, groups, or instead of, say, hashtags. So now you're only going to see what the algorithm thinks you prefer. That is crazy. That is absolutely insane. And this is a way to control. Again, technology is essentially a mechanism of control. Cybernetics as a technological process in science is all about control. The cybernetic technocrat type transhumanists are all about controlling things through technology. This is just a perfect example of that. Literally controlling what messages people get under the guise of, well, it's what you prefer. It's so sick, man. This is literal social engineering and mind control. When we think of algorithms, will be shaping messages, promoting others, limiting others, silencing completely many others. It's just, wow, is this the future, man? Is this really the future of content? Did anyone ask for this? Of course not. So sick, man. It's so sick, but we will fight. That's for sure. We will fight. Now, thinking about this idea of this new type of guard, right? This new technocratic guard, right? Engineers, developers. I call them the developer kings. If we think of Plato's philosopher kings, should rule the earth. We don't have that, and we never will. Right? We never will have real philosophical or godly men running things. But we do have developers and engineers and technologists running things. Altman being a huge one right now, seeking $7 trillion for new AI chip project. Now, what's important about this is this idea of techno-nationalism, where instead of outsourcing a lot of our production like we used to when we had a different type of economic system, goods and services and materials, now that we're moving towards information and knowledge systems, social and cultural services through information and knowledge, now what's most important is chip production and processing. So we're going to see this manufacturing coming to our country. Some might say, oh, well, we're going to get new jobs. It will be specialized jobs. But at the end of the day, these new systems, though they may become more national and domestic, they're just going to make things more austere. And we get panoptic surveillance through it all. Now, I notice as well, Elon is being pumped up and promoted for the shift to XPay, which I think could be probably one of the first what we see this type of quote-unquote decentralized digital currencies. But really, I think what this is going to do is shift the economy to the digital economy, to the digital finance system. It's interesting because as the World Economic Forum talks about it, and everyone's talking about the Great Reset, CBDC, everyone's like, no, fighting that. but they're promoting what Elon's doing under the guise of it's going to be this new libertine, independent, for the people system. But what he's doing, what this will do, is help build the infrastructure that, say, the World Economic Forum needs. And this is a big part of Bitcoin. It's a big part of cryptocurrency. We're building these infrastructures that are going to be totally centralized and controlled by those who run the network systems, those who run the processing and the ubiquitous computing that allows it all, right? Check this out. These are some more memes, just to give you guys an example of what I mean here. This is what we're seeing. Yeah, PayPal's not perfect. Venmo, Cash App, everything has problems. But listen, these payment sources allow us to work outside of other bigger systems. Third-party payment processors are advantageous to those who are independent. They are, as flawed as they may be. But just working it to some decentralized XPay is not the way to do it. Because I have a pretty good idea, at least I think I do, of what Musk's ultimate goals are, or at least what they might turn into. And he could be just being used to build all of this stuff, and then they turn on him, backstab him, and then he becomes the real victim of all of this. That's a possibility too, man. So look at this, X payments. Can you believe they use these images like this? This is real memes people are pushing around. It's just a mind virus. It's so sick, man. But this is just a great example of social engineering. Accelerating the panoptic digital economy via social media culture, memetics and culture creation. And I'm so sick of hearing people, well, Elon may do this, but it's like, listen, man, be real. This dude is setting everybody up for failure. Let's be real. Let's call this stuff out, man. Stop playing the middle. A lot of people play in the middle, man, because they're afraid. Right? They got